This is probably the least used bag in my collection. Hi guys, my name is G.P.S. and welcome back to my channel. I recently did a video on the most used luxury pieces from my collection, so I thought that I would slowly start introducing you to the least used items. And why not start with an extremely popular bag from Hermes, which is one that I basically never reach for, and is the Roulis 23 bag. Today we'll be taking a deep dive into the pros and the cons of this actually highly coveted bag, which is quite understated. So if you want to find out why I hardly ever take this bag out of its box, then please keep on watching. In case you're new to the Roulis bag and you've never seen this piece before, let's quickly discuss what you have to know about it. So this bag is one that has been around for, I want to say, almost 10 years. It was first introduced during the Jean-Paul era when he was leading the Hermes design team. And it's extremely popular considering that it's quite a bit more edgy than some of their other designs. And it doesn't really feature any kind of heavy branding. People often compare this bag to the Constance, which is actually quite similar to this. It's one of the most iconic bags that Hermes makes. And similar to this, it's also intended to be worn mainly as a crossbody bag. But the Roulis is different in the sense that it doesn't really feature the heavy branding that the Constance has. If you see a Constance bag walking down the street, you can see it from the floor because it has that huge H closure on the front. While the Roulis still has quite a prominent hardware piece on the front, if you're not an Hermes or luxury connoisseur, you wouldn't necessarily know that this is an Hermes piece, whereas the Constance is quite hard to miss. But I would actually argue that the Roulis is quite a bit more practical than the Constance, which I promise to elaborate on later on in this video. The Roulis bag comes in two different sizes. There is size 18, which is considered the mini version. And then the one that I have here is in size 23, which is, I would say, the regular size. So even the sizing is quite similar to the Constance. When it comes to leathers, you'll most often see this in smoother leathers. I think the most common one is Evercolor, which is personally a leather that I don't care for. The one that I have here is in one of the newer leathers that I think was introduced a couple of years ago. I believe it's called Allegretto or Allegretto. I have no doubt that I'm butchering it. But it's a leather that sits somewhere between Swift and Evercolor. It's a little bit more smooth than Evercolor. The grains are even more shallow, but it's not as soft and delicate as Swift. I'm personally not the biggest fan of this leather because I don't find them to be durable, especially for a bag that is intended to be worn on a daily basis. I find that it's a little bit too delicate for my liking, but it's because of this softness that it's so easy to use this bag and open it up and close it, whereas some other bags that are made of a more structured leather tend to be a little bit harder to use. Personally, it wasn't until I think 2017 that this bag first caught my eye. Even though it had been out for a while, I was never really interested in it. But in 2017, they released it in a version that was made of both matte alligator and lizard. And there was this one piece that I still remember. I think the body of the bag, meaning this part, was made of bird fonts in matte alligator. And then the flap was made of natural lizard. And it was absolutely stunning. But my thinking behind buying these bags is that if I'm going to go for an exotic skin, I have to love the bag. So I thought that I would first invest in a bag in regular leather, and if I find that I use it, I'm able to take advantage of it, and I just simply like how the bag functions on me and the way it looks, then I'm going to invest in an exotic piece, and that's what I would also recommend that you do. So thankfully I ended up purchasing it in regular leather instead of exotic, and I'm so glad I did, because this bag did not work out for me at all. I find that this bag is a little bit too boxy for my liking, so even when I tried it in size 18, I found that it was a little bit too bulky. And while I have to be honest, these bags fit a crazy amount. When I take out a bag that I consider a smaller bag, I'm not really going to fill it to the brim. So I find that if I need just my daily essentials that would fit into a mini Kelly, this bag is way too big. But if I need more things like a computer or an iPad, I'd much rather go for an actual Birkin or Kelly. So I don't find that I'm able to take advantage of all the room that this bag offers. And I personally have the same feelings about the 18. While it's a little bit smaller in size, I'm still not the biggest fan of the shape on me. I still find that it looks a little bit bulky and it doesn't really adhere to the body well. But if you're looking for more of a casual and practical bag, there is really not much bad I can say about this other than the price, because this bag including tax is over $9,000.
Over $9,000?
Which to me is a little bit overpriced for what you get. Compared to other bags in my collection, it doesn't really add that much to any outfit. It's kind of plain. But if I compare it to a Mini Kelly, a Constance, or even a trunk bag from Dior or Louis Vuitton, I don't find that this adds as much value to any outfit. So personally for me, it's a little bit overpriced for what you get, but I understand that some people like more plain looking things. So if you are a fan of the Hermes quality and their craftsmanship, but you're not necessarily a fan of the look of the Kelly bag or the branding on the Constance, then you might want to look into the Roulis, because it is definitely a beautifully made bag, but for me, it's just a little bit too bland. Let's quickly look at how this bag actually works. So on the front, you have this larger hardware piece, which is actually a modern interpretation of the iconic Shandong symbol that Hermes has and uses, which I absolutely love. And then the way you open this bag up is that you pull up the flap, which just slides behind that. There isn't really a magnet or anything holding it down there. And then this is what the bag looks like on the inside. On the inside, you have two larger compartments, and then you have this little middle slip pocket, which is quite unique. I don't think I have ever seen another Hermes bag with that. And then you also have another pocket in the back. And a huge advantage that I think people love is the fact that you also get a pocket on the back. But I would personally only use this for thinner things, because I feel like if you put a phone in there, it might stretch out the leather over time. But other than that, this is what the bag looks like. It's quite simplistic, but very well organized. It is a crossbody bag. However, you can deattach the strap on one side, and that's what this ring is for. So I personally keep the strap inside of the bag. And then you attach this to the ring over here. And the strap is actually quite cool because it has this spring-like mechanism, which means that you can push it in on one side, and that's how it attaches to that little ring. And this is what the bag looks like with the strap attached. I'm actually a huge fan of this spring mechanism, because the fact that you can take the strap off on one side means that you can use an extension, you can put maybe a twilly or even a bracelet or a necklace to make the strap longer if you want to. Or you can also put the strap quite comfortably inside of the bag, and you can use this as a pouch or as a clutch bag. So I actually quite like this, and I think it's a huge advantage compared to the Constance, which has a strap attached to the bag and there's nothing you can really do about it. And I actually find the strap to be much more comfortable on the Roulis bag and quite a bit longer than it is on the Constance 24. If I want to compare the Constance to the Roulis bag, they both have a very similar accordion structure on the side, which allows the bag to stretch a little bit, so you can really pack this if you want to and if you need to, because it means that the leather will expand and it can kind of take the shape of whatever you need to put in there. The Constance has the exact same structure to it, but the Constance only has two compartments and it doesn't have a pocket in the middle like this bag does. However, the Constance does have a zip pocket in the back, whereas this one just has that very simple slip. So it's kind of up to you, which one would you prefer. I don't really think that these little features make a huge difference in terms of the way they're built. The Constance 24 is extremely comparable to this particular bag. But I do want to mention that the Constance doesn't have a pocket on the back like this one does. So in case that's a deal breaker for you, then I would recommend that you go for the Roulis. But I don't think that this pocket would make that big of a difference because there's really not much that you can slip in there. In terms of size, I actually find the Roulis to be a little bit more spacious, even though it's technically 1 centimeter smaller. I think just because of the shape, it's easier to take advantage of every inch of this bag than it is to take advantage of the Constance. So in case you love the Constance but you cannot get a hold of the 24 size, or you find that it's quite hard to carry it on a daily basis, then you might want to look into this, because this boxiness and this very uniform shape means that you can really put a lot in there. And I do have to give the Roulis an extra point for the fact that the strap is quite flexible, because as I mentioned, the strap is completely attached to the Constance. There is not much you can do about it. Whereas on the Roulis, there are so many ways that you can extend this. And I also find this to be a lot more comfortable to wear crossbody. But at the end of the day, this is not a bag that's really going to hold its value. So if you're buying this as an investment piece, I wouldn't recommend this necessarily. I would point you in the direction of a Constance. If investment is not really a consideration for you, you're just looking for a practical bag to use on an everyday basis, then you could certainly look into the Roulis. It's not my least favorite bag from Hermes, but it's my least used. I don't find that I ever reach for this because, as I mentioned, it doesn't add too much value to any outfit. But at the same time, if you are looking for something that's simple, muted, and practical, and obviously incredible quality, then the Roulis is a bag that you might want to look into. But if I want to be 100% honest, I would choose a Constance over this in a heartbeat. And this is it, guys. This completes my review on the Roulis 23 bag. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions, you can always find me in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.